Today guys, I wanted to talk about why it's nearly impossible to become super rich in Grand RP nowadays. I've thought many times about making more videos on how to become rich, but realistically, it is way harder now than it was before. So, I hope you guys enjoy, and if you haven't joined the server before and want to, be sure to click the link down below in the description, click on Start Playing, select which server you want to play on, register an account, download the launcher, and if you need any more assistance, there's a quick video at the end to help you guys out. And if you want to play on your phone, there's a link down below for that as well. Everything you could do on the PC version of the game, you could do on the go. And if you use code Frolickz when you sign up, you get a free rare accessory. But with that said, I hope you enjoy, and let's dive into this. So when it comes to making money in the city, there's tons of different ways you're able to do it. For me, one of the best passive ways that I make money is by owning an office building. But of course, you're going to need like $50 million in order to do that, which is a ton of money. And it doesn't pay out too much, but it's consistent passive income. But we'll start by talking about something else. Back when the city first started, they added all of the organizations, they added a bunch of beginner jobs, and it was going solid. You could make decent money. Let's say you were the chief of police, you could be making $35,000, $38,000 per hour, I believe to a cap of like 50 or 60 grand. I can't really remember the exact cap back in the day, but they actually did lower the cap. I'm pretty sure at one point it was around $100,000, but then they dropped it down to 50 or 60,000, which once again, kind of crazy. But back then, making that type of money from working in an organization, either illegal or legal, or even a beginner job to start off, it was pretty solid because pretty much everything in the city was decently priced. Adidas pants, $8 million bucks. You wanted to buy a mansion with a helipad, $15 million. Sorry, not a mansion with a helipad. Just a house with a helipad. A mansion with a helipad, 50, 60, 70 million, because, you know, it's a mansion. So owning one of those houses, you knew you were rich back in the day. Other things were a lot more expensive, like a luminous stone. Back then, since they weren't really in the battle pass or anything, and the battle pass was nowhere near how it is right now, they'd cost $1 million to get one luminous stone. But right now, you can get them for 50k each. And for some reason, they still haven't changed that in the crafting menu. If you go to creating items, you go to other, and you scroll down to luminous stone, it still says 500 rubies and 100 diamonds. Like I said, this is from when the city first started. 500 rubies, we'll say they were around $1,000 each, which is 500k. And 100 diamonds were around 4,000 each, which is about 400k. Add that together, it's about 900 grand to make one luminous stone. I'm not too sure the exact price of diamonds and rubies now, but either way, that still doesn't really match up with the going rate of a luminous stone. So that should be removed from the game or altered based on the current market value. But either way, back when the city first started, it was very easy to make money. You felt like the money you were actually making was worth it because it would actually be substantial in kind of building towards your goal of whatever you wanted to purchase. And then things started to go up a lot in price. Really started to shoot up. Adidas pants, 10x'd in value. A house with a helipad, also pretty much 10x'd in value. But then the money you're making definitely did not 10x in value. It's actually never ever changed. The amount of money you were making as a high rank in an organization back when the city first started is the exact same you'd be making right now. And you're probably wondering why I'm sitting in a truck. Well, I wanted to bring up a little point here. As you guys know, when trucking was revamped, there was quote unquote a bug with trucking, where you were able to make a lot more money than they anticipated. Normally before, the most you'd be able to make was $6,000 off of a trucking order. When they revamped it, you were able to get orders for $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, up to like $100k. I even got an order for $300,000 one time, which was awesome. Now, this is just my opinion, but I feel like that's actually how it was supposed to be. Considering how much everything costs, you get a trucking order for 100 grand, that's going to help you a lot when it comes to buying anything. And if we really think about it, if everything's gone up 10 times the price it used to be, the amount of money you should be making should have also gone up a pretty decent amount. Now from trucking, you're actually able to make double the amount you used to be able to make before. As you guys know, 6k was the most. But if we scroll down here, maybe take a look at the businesses, they're all taken. You can see there's 8k, there's 10k, there's 12k right here. Let's go ahead and take one of these tenders. So we're making a lot more money from trucking than we would before. But that's only 2 times the amount more than we would have made before, yet everything in the city has gone up way more in value. Even when it comes to upgrading a car, you get new cars from the battle pass. The state values of them are like 18 million, 20 million, 30 million, 40 million. Extremely expensive. But before, cars you'd be getting like a Murcielago, an Aventador, Veneer Supersport, even a Rolls-Royce Phantom, or a Bugatti Veyron. Their state values are all relatively low, so it would cost a lot less for you to max out those cars and upgrade them. Like I have one car that's worth $50 million. That was in one of the most recent battle passes. If I were to take that to chip tuning, it would cost me an absolute fortune to upgrade the engine on it just to make it go a little bit faster, which is a whole another issue that I'm sure you guys already know. Insurance, crazy. Upgrading cars, absolutely crazy. It just costs too much money because The prices of cars have also gone up a lot in value. But if you're trying to make money and save up, let's say back in the day, right? You were a high-ranked position in an organization making $35,000, $40,000 per hour. Pretty solid amount of cash back then. And you wanted to save up and buy Adidas pants. Now, of course, that's not the only thing you would be doing to make money. You'd be doing a few other little things on the side, maybe buying and selling some stuff, so there's still cash to be made. But let's just pretend it's only the money you're making from the organization. It would take you right around 200 something hours to make enough money to purchase Adidas pants back then for 8 mil. It'd probably take you right around 300 hours to purchase the house that I actually owned with a helipad, which was about 15 million. If you fast forward to today, you'd still be making the exact same amount of money that you would have back then, but now it's going to take you over 2,200 hours to get those Adidas pants. And if you want to buy that house, well, that house is probably worth over $200 million now. So it would take you right around 5,700 hours of getting paid 35 grand per hour from working in an organization. Now, I'm being completely honest here. I don't think anybody in their right mind would want to do that. But of course, there's other things you could do to make money. You could buy and sell stuff. Sadly, you're not able to work too many part-time jobs since you're in an organization, which in my opinion doesn't really make too much sense, but it is what it is. But at the end of the day, it just doesn't really seem worth it to even do anymore. Really, the only way you'd be able to make a bunch of money is if you buy a bunch of grand coins. And if I'm being honest, back in the day, I used to do lots of crate openings, and I still do lots of crate openings now. Back then though, if I made $10 million or $15 million, I'd be pretty happy because there's a lot I could do with 10 or 15 mil a couple years ago. Now, I mean, yeah, there is still a decent amount you could do with 10 or 15 mil, but it's not gonna really make a dent in my savings if I'm trying to buy a business. Back then though, 15 mil, you definitely couldn't buy an insane business, but I'm pretty sure you could get an ATM, a decent one, probably around nearly half the amount it would have cost to buy a tattoo parlor. Actually, the one I owned, I bought off auction. I can't remember how much I bought it for, but I ended up selling it for 55 million and I made a profit. So I think I probably bought it for around 40 mil. Making 10 or 15 mil from a crate opening, that's almost half of what it would cost me to purchase a business. Don't get me wrong. If you had $15 million right now, you can go buy an apartment. You could almost afford one of the houses that I own. You could do a decent amount of stuff with it. But if you're looking to get rich, your main goal would be investing it in something like a business or even a property. So it either holds its value or goes up. Plus, if you're able to make money off of that, that makes things even better. But it's just too hard now. Like you guys heard what I said. If you work at LSPD, you're in a gang, even doing beginner jobs, there is no way on earth you're going to be able to save up for a house with a helipad. That is a 100% guarantee. Just by doing that type of work. Even other things. You could do office tasks. Yeah, you make a little bit of money from that as well. Of course, you're not only just going to be working in an org. You're going to be doing things on the side to make some extra cash. But even with that said, the only job in the city where there's been a pay raise, I guess, is trucking. And when it was actually a good amount of money, it was altered back from 5 to 10 times the amount that you'd be making down to 2 times the amount. I'm not saying they should revert it back and you should be able to make $350,000 off of a single trucking order, but if we're being honest, the person who owns that business that's worth $500, $600 million now is probably going to make that money in a couple of hours, maybe by the end of the day. Of course, depending on which business it is. But then we talk about all the other jobs in the city where the pay hasn't changed at all, yet everything around you is more expensive. Even taking a look at real life, it's somewhat similar to that. Inflation is a real thing. Everything goes up in value. The amount of money you're making also does go up. Definitely not as quick as the things around you are going up in value, but you're still making more money. So in this city, everything is going up around you in value. Everything is getting more expensive. You're still making the exact same amount of money you used to be making back in the day, which is why it is so extremely hard to become rich now, since everything is just super expensive. Having $1 million in your bank account in this city 2 years ago would have been all right. Having $1 million now, you're still pretty much broke. Actually, you are broke. There's really not too much you could do with $1 million anymore. And I'm not saying it's impossible to get rich. It is nearly impossible, especially if you don't want to spend any money. There are things you could do, it's just going to be a lot more time consuming now. Like, I still find it kind of crazy that some of the houses I own, some of the businesses I own, some of the clothing items that I owned have gone up so much in value. Making money has not gone up nearly as much. Actually, it hasn't gone up at all. The only thing that has gone up is trucking. I've thought of a few ways that they'd be able to fix this. I'm sure you guys can think of some as well. Like, for one, just increasing the amount of money everybody makes by doing things in the city. If you work in an organization, maybe instead of making 35K, you're making 75k now, or maybe you're making 100k, pretty much devaluing the currency. But then things around you will probably go up a little bit more in value as well, so it won't make too much of a difference. That's why in certain places in the world, you could have $1 million of their currency, but in US dollars or Canadian dollars or in euros, it's only worth like 2,000 bucks. At the end of the day, it is nearly impossible for people to become rich in Grand RP, and it's somewhat sad. So I'm hoping the developers realize this, make a few changes so it becomes a little less time consuming and it allows people to have a little bit more fun in the city. Because even taking a car to a custom shop, you got a brand new $35 million Land Cruiser from the Battle Pass. It's going to cost you $3.5 million to put the first engine upgrade on, then $7 million, then $10.5 million, I believe, and then like $14 million to fully max out the engine, which is going to end up costing you tens of millions of dollars in total. It just became a lot harder. And I can only imagine how hard it is for new players. They come in, they grind their ass off for 10, 15 hours for like 3 days straight, and maybe they got 500k if they're lucky, maybe $1 million. It just seems like you're putting a lot of time in and you're not getting too much out of it, realistically. So I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. What are some ways that you think this can be fixed a little bit? Because it's definitely not an easy task, and I'm assuming the developers have realized it, but they're trying to think of some ways to fix this as well. So let me know down below what you guys think. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And with that said, I will catch you guys in the next one.